Hello again. Oh, hey there. Hey. Hey, everyone. Oh, hey there. How's it going? Have you missed me? Because I haven't been dropping those vids super consistently. Did you wonder where I was, what I was doing, what was going on, when was the next video gonna drop? Well, here it is, dropping. If you've been following me on TikTok, it's been a little more consistent. And if you want more videos, I would love to do this more often. I would love to drop more videos, record more videos, and have these more consistently come out. But hey, if you want that, I need your help. I need you to tell people about me. I need you to click the subscribe and click the likes and send it around, share it with your friends and your family, and especially your Christian uncle who will get mad at me and yell at me in the comments. But hey, seriously, it's been like a wild couple of weeks where I finally made a TikTok and started posting some of my videos, and there are a lot of new people. A lot of you are new. I don't know why I'm struggling to talk right now. But yeah, a lot of you are new, and I just want to say thanks so much for joining me on this journey, for, liking my stuff and subscribing. I'm super stoked to have a little bit more of an audience here. I'm really excited to start building a community, a little bit of back and forth between us, like we've already had in some of the comments on TikTok and on YouTube. So yeah, thank you so much for subscribing and checking my stuff out. I really would love to do this full time, but YouTube has changed a lot of their rules where I can't even start monetizing my videos until I hit 1,000 subscribers. So now that I've passed 100, which is really cool to think about the fact that my last video I had 70 something subscribers, maybe not even that much. And now, I've got a little bit of a following on TikTok, and I think I'm above 300 subscribers on YouTube now. So that's super exciting. So the next landmark for me is 500, and then the one after that is the 1,000, and then we can start maybe doing some brand deals. We can get some sponsorships going on here. I would fucking love that. Obviously, being on here is relatively new for me, so I'm excited to have some people joining, and I hope to see it grow. Part of the reason it takes me so long to get a video done is partially because life is just busy, and since I can't do this full time yet, I have to do other things to try to make money. And also I just have some other hobbies. I have so many paintings. Do you want a painting? I don't even know if you can see this okay with the reflection, but you can have, I don't know if I can show that on here. I'll sell these. Do you want them? I don't know. I'm mostly just fucking around, and that's upside down. Do you want this stuff? I started posting some paintings online, but nobody knows about me. So nobody really gives a shit. But hey, do you want it? And we've got some bigger boys too. Not sure I can actually show this on YouTube or whatever social media, but if you're interested, let me know. Drop a comment. I don't have a place where they're really posted right now. You just hit me up. I'm classically trained by Leonardo DiCapricorn, so yeah, I've just had some other things going on, but I have a lot of video ideas, and I've been writing things down and trying to get scripts kind of fleshed out. I've been trying to get more and more scripts fleshed out. So, I'm always looking for new content. If you all see anything that you would like me to react to or to talk about, I would love to hear some suggestions. You can DM me, you can send me TikToks, you can drop them in the comment on YouTube, We're small enough right now as a little community where I'm fairly certain that I will be able to get to all of your messages. So hit me up. Which brings us into what we're talking about today. This is something that I've wanted to talk about for a while, but I just felt like I was collecting a lot of ideas and making sure that I was going to say what I wanted to say. I'm sure I'm not going to say everything here that could be said about this subject, but it's something that I've been thinking about for quite some time, and I was excited to finally make something about it. So you probably already know, based on the title, which I haven't chosen yet, but I'm sure will indicate what's going on in the video. But we're talking about conspiracy theories today. No, we're not diving into specific conspiracy theories. It's more like we are going to look at the correlation between evangelical Christianity and conspiracy theories. Have you ever wondered why so many conspiracy theorists are also hyper-religious? The dominant religion in the entire world is Christianity. Different parts of the world, different religions are more dominant, but in the whole world, Christianity is currently number one. And here in the United States, we see a higher concentration of Christians than in many other countries around the world. And we also tend to have a larger concentration of Christians who seem to be prone to conspiratorial thinking for whatever reason. And that's what today's video is about. What is the reason? Why are there so many conspiracy theorists who are also Christians? Obviously, not all Christians are conspiracy theorists, and not all conspiracy theorists are Christians, but I'm very interested in the Venn diagram that connects the two. And also, obviously, there are so many sects of Christianity and so many different types of Christians, but has it ever seemed odd to you that there are so many religious people, specifically Christian people, at least in the United States, who are conspiracy theorists and who talk about these conspiracies as if they're experts on the subject? From the anti-vax movement to the rise of Q and the January 6th attack on the Capitol, there seems to be a rising number of conspiracy theorists who are posing a problem, or at the very least are willfully disconnecting from our shared reality to create a reality of their own. A reality in which Trump is the supreme leader, government officials and celebrities are exposed for their alleged crimes and also sometimes executed for those crimes, and true freedom is allowed to return to the land. There's already a pretty good wealth of knowledge talking about why there has been such a rise in conspiracy theorists, or at least why they have been more boldly coming out of the woodwork recently. So if you're interested in that, I would recommend that you look into it from multiple reputable sources. I will also link a couple things in the description to help you get started if that's what you need. Things like the continued globalization of information and connection to the internet, a lack of digital media literacy, and isolation during the lockdowns have been presented as some of the reasons why we've seen such a surge of conspiracy theorists. But today I wanted to address a different question, the one that I mentioned. Why are conspiracy theorists often so religious? We've all seen pictures or real-life examples of churches or businesses or pickup trucks brandishing some combination of the American flag, the Confederate flag, a Trump flag, or a Q flag. And personally, in the last 2 years, I've especially seen an uptick in the last two. Having been such a hardcore Christian and still having personal connections to some hardcore Christians, I've been really interested in figuring out why the Venn diagram between hardcore Christians and conspiracy theorists has such a large cross-section. But before I get into it, I feel like it's important to say that this is all based on my experience, as well as my personal examination and critique. I've listened to podcasts, read books, and had conversations that I'm sure have influenced my perspectives, but in the end, these are my thoughts on the matter. I feel that my lived experience of these hyper-religious themes and lifestyle gives me a little bit of an inside look as to what's going on here, but I'm not a research scientist, and I could simply just be wrong about these things. There has been some research done on this correlation or a similar kind of correlation, and I'll link those in the description below as well. But if there was ever research that came out that went against what I was saying here or made it invalid, I would consider those things and reevaluate my stance. I also think it's important for people to talk about this kind of stuff, even if they're not research scientists, especially because the kind of people who tend to be conspiracy theorists don't trust people with authority like a research scientist, at least an authority who disagrees with them. That being said, they probably won't trust me either, but I still think it's important to talk about. Plus, some of the things that I want to talk about, I haven't seen other people talking about that much, or not going very deep with it. So I wanted to get my thoughts out and see what other people think about it. What we often see with conspiracy theorists is a distrust and a mistrust of any authority who's not their chosen authority, which means that conspiracy theorists only trust any authority who follows the same line of thinking as them, and anybody else is benefiting off of or a part of the conspiracy. Trump, for example, is the current chosen leader of the more prevalent conspiracy theory landscape that we see in the United States. He's been named the hero, savior, and/or trustworthy leader of multiple conspiracy theories, which are too varied to name here succinctly. God, that word always gets me. Also, just keeping in mind that what counts as conspiracy to me might not count as conspiracy to you because of your upbringing, your worldview, your beliefs and opinions. So the way that I think of conspiracies is, and I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure I got it right, a belief that some covert but influential organization is responsible for a circumstance or event without sufficient evidence. And the key word for me here is evidence. To some extent, it does make sense to me that people would question authority or have doubts because we've seen throughout history, especially in recent history, some cases of confirmed conspiracies. Like, for example, MK Ultra, where the US government tested the effects of LSD on US and Canadian citizens without their consent. Or like when parts of the Gulf of Tonkin incident were fabricated to help sway public opinion and ended up being a major factor in the US intervention in Vietnam. Or like when the US Department of the Treasury poisoned alcohol during Prohibition and killed at least 1,100 people because of it. These things and more things have happened. You can find them pretty easily. And don't get me wrong, I think that there's actually a lot of value in questioning authority structures, systems of government, and power structures. To me, where it starts turning into a problem is when people start rejecting actual evidence, when they start proposing new and outlandish ideas without any evidence, when they stop listening to experts on a subject entirely, and when people go with what feels good rather than what is true. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm sure not all conspiracy theorists are Christians, and there probably is overlap with other groups. But also, like I mentioned, Christians are the people with whom I have the most experience and the ideology with which I have the most lived experience. So I'm gonna talk about them. And because there's always the people in the comments who feel it's necessary to come in and say not all Christians are like that, it's important for me to say yes, I know not all Christians are the exact same. They vary widely in the way that they express in the world and interact with people and express their religion. So yes, I know that, and no, I'm not talking about all Christians here. If you're Christian and you believe in science and looking at evidence and listening to the experts, like, awesome, good. So what I'm talking about here, and in a lot of my videos, is evangelical Christianity, which is what I was, and which I think is one of the more toxic and damaging religions that we see in our world today. This means I'm talking about people who are legalistic about the Bible, who interpret any or all of it literally, and who don't have any room in their brains for living a different way or thinking another way. The born-again type of Christian that plagues our culture and unfortunate villages in developing countries where groups of pious and sanctimonious teenagers spread the love of Jesus by invading people of color's lives for a week so the teenagers can come in their pants from itching their savior complex and go back to their youth groups and talk about how transformative of an experience it was to help save those poor black and brown people's souls who were going to hell before those pimply-faced youths prayed over them. You know the type. So knowing all of that, let's get into it. I'm actually gonna... There we go. When I really started looking into some of these conspiracy theories to help me understand what was actually going on behind the scenes, is when I started to draw an almost one-to-one correlation between Christianity and conspiracy theories. And I didn't know any other way to present them except to go through them one by one. So let's dive in. Number 1. Christians believe that God's perfect design and creation has been ruined by sin. And remember, it's not all Christians, it's the evangelical kind, the legalistic, literal thinking ones. And they also think that the devil and evil run rampant currently through the world, which is leading us to the end of times, where the wicked will be punished for their wickedness with eternal suffering, and the righteous will be rewarded with freedom from sin and peace forever. Where we see this connect in conspiracy theories is in the thinking that the forefathers are the fucking greatest in the world, that the country that they established with the rules and principles that they had are the absolute bee's knees. They represent the pinnacle of freedom and democracy, but their vision and the once great country of these United States of America is being ruined by horrible, godless, and even evil people who are running it into the ground, and who are ruining democracy and trying to take away our freedoms. I'm sure you've seen examples of this in a lot of the polarization that we've seen. It's really easy to get information from both sides of the aisle, especially nowadays with the internet. Number 2. In Christianity, Jesus is the one and only Savior who came to this world to save us from the shit of our sin, and who's going to make everything right again when he comes back to earth to claim his throne. He was also rejected and persecuted by the leaders at the time, and also by the general public by the end of his lifetime, which is important because it highlights the kind of persecution that Christians think they will and have to endure to confirm their self-righteous bias that anytime they're criticized for anything, especially their beliefs, they are proven to be in the right because Jesus went through it too. Where we see this reflected today is a lot of the time through Trump. Trump is the strong man, tell it like it is businessman who's not like all the other politicians and the socialite elite billionaires who are just in it for themselves and who have also probably made deals with the devil. Trump is the only one who can save us all from the communists, the fascists, the socialists, the liberals, and the gays, which in this context all means sinners. All of these people are believed to be ruining this beautiful country and everything it stands for. And when Trump was rejected and persecuted by many around the world, it wasn't because he was a sexist, racist, and bigoted homophobe who only cares about himself. No, it was because he's the gallant and courageous hero who tells the truth despite the criticism. And when he returns one day and becomes president once more, all the liberals will see what's what, and they'll get their comeuppance. Number 3. The Bible is pretty clear about its followers being in the world, but not of the world. World leaders are not to be trusted, and it's the priests, rabbis, clergymen, and pastors who are the leaders of the flock. Flock meaning God's people. We see this translate into conspiracy theories in that anyone who's outside of your system of thinking is not really trustworthy and are often, in fact, going against you. You are a part of the select few who are the noble people who are trying to get the truth out there and save the world. You can only trust the small amount of people who agree with you and the few chosen leaders that you have, because everyone else is a part of the secret agenda to take over the world and silence and kill all of you noble people. And the only thing the noble people are trying to do is expose those people for what they really are: criminal and immoral baby-eating lawbreakers who participate in satanic rituals. Number 4. In Christianity, like I mentioned, the world is against you because you stand out and you're different. You belong to God, not the world, therefore the world persecutes you. And persecution is a sign and affirmation of your commitment to God. In conspiracy land, this has turned into anytime someone disagrees with you or doesn't want your beliefs and opinions to dictate their laws and their lives, you're being persecuted for your beliefs, which convinces you further that you're in the right because you tell yourself they're just afraid of the truth and they're sheeple who are not willing to be uncomfortable for the greater good. Number 5. In evangelical Christianity, it's often taught that you have the capital T truth, the one truth that's above all other lifestyles, all other opinions and beliefs, and all other religions. And questioning that truth is tantamount to sinning against God and could lead you down a path that gets you sent to hell. I feel pretty confident that there's more than a couple people from my past who think I'm going to hell as I've begun releasing these videos and talking about my opinions more. To live on this path and to make it into heaven is really hard, so much so that the phrase they use to describe that path as the straight and narrow, because it's really hard to stay on. Where we see this today with conspiracies is in the echo chambers that get created on places like Facebook and Twitter and Telegram. You end up having no room in your brain to hear anything with a truly open and reasonable mind outside of your echo chamber. You know you're right and you won't question it to a reasonable degree because everyone else is obviously wrong, and you're certain beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have the capital T truth. And the fact that you're coming up against such a big challenge when it comes to finding evidence and convincing other people of the truth is because the easy way out can't be the right way. So it has to be a struggle. It ends up being that straight and narrow path that only a few will make it through. So you put on the blinders to make sure that you're not influenced by other people's opinions and beliefs, because they're wrong anyway. Because if they were right, they would be on the straight and narrow path with you. We also see the effects of this in believing that anytime there is no evidence for your conspiracy theory, that ends up becoming proof that the conspiracy theory is just that nefarious and that well planned. Number 6, and this one's a kicker. In Christianity, you believe in a God who is invisible, unverifiable, and untraceable. But you believe this God is real based on your personal experiences. The very simple correlation we can see here with conspiratorial thinking is your feelings are more important than what's actually true. Your experiences define most or all of reality for you, even when it's in direct contrast to the available evidence. And there's little to no open-mindedness for nuance or variation. So because something feels true, it ends up meaning it is true for you without you going through the proper steps of looking for evidence, recognizing and questioning your bias, or separating emotion from fact. Number 7. When you interpret the Bible literally, you tend to believe in its infallibility, and you kind of have to believe in its infallibility because some of the shit that's in there is so ridiculous or so immoral and fucked up that the only way to get around it is to say, well, it's God, and God's outside of human understanding, so I can't understand it. I'm all right with it. Not only that, but there's plenty of evidence to show the Bible's fallibility and its inaccuracy, or at the very least, there's no good evidence showing the credibility of the Bible. At least not for the claims it makes about Jesus being God, about there being a God, about there being heaven and hell, like the really big questions. I don't need someone to come up in here and tell me, oh no, this was actually in the Roman Empire and something blah blah, and we have record. Like those small things I don't give a shit about. Sure, fine. Like it was written by somebody, obviously, so I'm not saying the Bible isn't real. I'm saying the Bible has been shown to be inaccurate a lot of the time with things like Noah's flood. So like it's not considered a credible book. Yet so many Christians still choose to believe it. And if you're one of those people that really likes to look at it like a metaphor, I don't really need to hear about that. That's fine. That's not what we're talking about here. Where we see this reflected with conspiracy theorists today is you get to create, believe in, and live in the reality that you want to. It ends up not mattering what's true because you don't have to back it up with any evidence. As long as you say it long enough and loud enough and you have enough faith while ignoring the actual evidence, anything can be real and alternative facts can replace truth. Number 8. When you believe in an omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent God, you tend to also believe that he's always taking care of you, even when you're not aware of it. He has a plan for your life, and you just have to have faith and trust him that it's all gonna be okay, even when it doesn't feel like he is there for you. Deciding your own path can be seen as selfish and in direct opposition to what God actually wants for your life. And it could lead down a path of evil, so you better do what God wants. And the things that God wants you to do are likely going to be uncomfortable and something that you don't really want to do because this God likes to test people and push you outside of your comfort zone. So get ready to be uncomfortable. Besides, if God knows everything, then he knows what's best for you, which we can never truly know about ourselves. So it's better to just rely on God, trust him, and don't make any decisions for yourself. You can't really trust yourself because there's always an outside force that knows you better than you could ever know yourself. In conspiratorial thinking, this turns into finding someone else to make decisions for you. Find a strong leader who seems to have it all figured out, who's strong and charismatic, and let them make the choices for you and lead you in the right direction. Don't take responsibility for your choices, your actions, or your beliefs because you don't want to get it wrong. If this strong, confident leader knows where they want to go and where they want you to go, it's better to just go with them. You can be confident in your choice and you don't have to question what they say because they know better. We can see this with the kind of blind adoration and support that Trump gets, regardless of what he says and does. We also see this when people simply repost or repeat something that they saw from places like Fox News or Breitbart, even after they've been shown to be false. And finally, this also feeds into people thinking that anything outside of their belief is just wrong, even if they don't know how to reasonably explain or justify why they think it's wrong. Number 9. In Christianity, there's the huge idea of the end of times, Armageddon, the end of the world as we know it. Like I mentioned towards the beginning of this video, most Christians believe that there is a time coming when all will be made right in the world, where God's going to restore the balance between good and evil and send all of the evil people and everything to hell for eternity and bring all of the goodness and whatever people and reward them by letting them worship him forever in heaven. I don't know about you, but that always sounded fucking awful to me. I did not want to go to heaven and just have a praise and worship service for fucking eternity. That sounds horrible. We see a major reflection of this though in the QAnon conspiracy theory, which has really become an umbrella term for a lot of different conspiracy theories, and they all kind of fit under QAnon now in one confusing package. In the Q illusion, there's a time coming called the Great Awakening. And this is basically a time where all of the wicked and horrible leaders and celebrities are going to get charged for their crimes and probably killed for them too. And then America will be great again. Once again, Trump has been named leader of this murder crusade by a lot of people. Much like Jesus will be leading the battle against the devil in the end of times. Number 10. Just like we saw in my video about Girl Defined, hardcore Christians often believe that God's rules and restraints are put in place to offer people the best life possible. And we can't question those because they do hold us in the true path to freedom, which is paradise with Him forever. In conspiracy terms, this has turned into, we don't like any of the rules except for the rules that we choose. Once we found the leader or leaders to follow, we want them to put restraints and rule in place that fit the mold of how we think we want to live our lives. This has the added benefit of making it impossible for other people to live the way that they want to live. When a person thinks like this, they'll call this freedom because they think it's returning things to the way that they're supposed to be. But it actually leans more towards fascism, where one ideological group is favored over all others by its chosen leader. They won't see this as fascism though, because the laws that are being enforced benefit them, and they won't be the ones punished, at least in the short term. To wrap this all up, I want to say that I do believe that most people, religious or not, conspiracy theorists or not, are really trying their best to do what they think is best. I think a lot of them think that they're doing things for the greater good and for a better world. And I think a lot of people think that they're on the right side of history. But I think what we've seen is a lot of people with good intentions have been purposefully misled by a few bad actors, who to me, at least some of the time, seem like they know they're lying to everyone, but they just don't care because it benefits them to spread the lies. Like when I see the way these bad actors present themselves to the world and put themselves out there and spread this information that is causing people to live in fear and in anger, I really want to know, do people really think that they care about them? It seems pretty clear that some people at least are in it for the money and the power. When the media that you're ingesting is causing you to feel more panicked, more afraid, or more angry, I think it's time to slow down a little bit and start asking those questions. All it takes is a little bit of time and some intellectual honesty to see that the leaders that you've chosen, who you're defending and backing up no matter what shitty thing they do or contradictory thing they say, do not care about you. And that they've been manipulating the power that you hold and that I hold, that we all hold as citizens of this country to further their power, dominance, and control. The very thing that you think you've been fighting this whole time is the thing that you've allowed to keep you on a leash and use you. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this. If you made it this far, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, doing all the things. I would appreciate it. I know today's video was a little different. It wasn't like the reaction style that I've been doing, but I'm super interested in like taking different looks at different things. So I think I'll keep experimenting and seeing where it takes us. I'd love to know any of your thoughts that you have about things that I talked about or maybe things that I missed. Please be courteous to one another in the comments and on TikTok. You can find all of my social medias in the links down below. And yeah, if you want to see more of me, please consider supporting me on Patreon, letting people know about me, and let's grow this community, huh? So thanks again. Take it easy. Be safe. Buy my paintings. And I'll talk to you soon.